So good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome here in Amsterdam for this open source conference. It's not easy to follow such a power girl like Neelie Kroes, but it's a privilege because in the European environment I know how hard she and her cabinet are fighting for open in all dimensions. And it's important because, I mean, the tone that is set in Europe as well is helping us all. It gives us a platform, a license to go on, if you will, and it means that the work we are doing makes a difference. Ladies and gentlemen, what I had in mind this morning is not to go into the details because I see on the first row some specialists here, and that would be dangerous to go in details here. But I think that's also not my role. My role is to give you a perspective how open source, open standards are in this world, what I see happening in this world. Secondly, why IBM believes in open source and has been doing that for a long while already. And thirdly, I simply like to leave you with some thoughts what I think is important for this crowd, because you are pioneers, you are working this for a while, and there's a big world to be conquered. So let's think about how we collectively can do that even faster and smarter together. So first, the world. I mean, take a quick tour through the world. I mean, here it goes. I mean, I believe that 10 years ago we thought that these beautiful countries like India and China, they were going to be off. They grew 5%, 10%, and we thought, well, these countries, we never see them back. Well, guess what? Even these countries get their share of challenges, infrastructure, middle class, to do. Secondly, our Americans, we thought these have such a deficit money, they only can print dollars in the night to keep up with that money. They say, well, some moment that will fill. Well, Americans are Americans. There might be Americans in the room here. They never give up. And they, as an example, came up with this new ambition that they said, we like to be, independent of energy from the world. So they invented their scaling gas project. Brazil, another very interesting part of this world, where in the past we knew Brazil from the Copacabana beach, if you will. That was our reference, at least my reference. Today, you see that if you unpeel Brazil, it's a very promising country. Good economic environment, good youth, good ICT skills. They have gas and oil, and if we can get there, it will be even more. And then we have Africa, the other continent, promising. And then we have Europe, always accused of having no leadership, if you will. But again, if you look at the facts, then more than half of the trade on the world is still going by Europe. Europe, in areas of ICT environment, digital environment, is one of the most advanced geos. So the point I want to make, ladies and gentlemen, is that now it's getting interesting. Now it's getting interesting. All the geos have done their gig, if you will, and we see more and more or less that it's becoming an open world. Everybody has a share of issues and challenges, if you will, and opportunities. So now it's really getting an interesting world. And what I like so much is that consumers and individuals and talents in the world finally have their playing field much more. And that is the world we are living in. And I think it is inspiring, it is challenging. We have issues to face. I mean, security, data privacy, we need to deal with that seriously. On the other hand, we know this world has become a technology world, an open world, so it's our duty to do something about it. So Neelie talked about open source and open standards, and you see in Europe, and I give you some examples here, that it's really growing. Munich focus on open source, and they are investing in that. They believe in that, and they dared to take bold steps to stop some other things, to focus on that one. In the UK, also a lot of focus on open standards. And also, basically in Spain, you see more examples where open source, specifically open standards, is getting seriously. Just a snapshot. And the fact is, why are we doing this? In the end, it's always because the world, society, or clients have some demands. And I've written down here basically some trends here. This massive amount of data that is overwashing us, if you will. The mobile workforce, look around you, look around your own way of working during the day. Mobile has become a real reality. And finally, this insufficient use of capacity. So let me talk a little bit about that one, on data. We see it around us, this explosion of data. And here are some points. We know that by 2015, 80% of the data will be uncertain. That means it can be right, you're not sure. So we need to do something about that, because we like to drive information into insight. But this data is a reality, it's exploding, and we need to use it in a beneficial way and use it for the goodness. Mobile, all over the place. Yesterday I was in Apeldoorn here hosting the ICT Gala, and I asked people in the room, so over the past 2 hours, have you been apping? Have you been tweeting, chatting? And much more as the year before, people raise their hands. So you see, it's really a reality, it's coming up. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, on this chart, this phenomena of not using capacity. On one hand, we are saying, in the years that are coming, we don't have enough capacity. There's no much capacity, there's no more time to store our stuff. And still the reality is that a lot of systems our clients are using are still not utilized. Can you imagine that clients buy these huge, expensive systems and they don't utilize it? So the point of this chart is basically you see these trends, mobile, data, how do we use capacity, and in all these areas I think we have solutions we can provide together. Our CEOs is an important group of people, because our CEOs are leading enterprises. So what they know, what they think, what they see, what they feel is important. So IBM, is doing these CEO surveys every 2 years. And the first time we did it some 10 years ago, the key word of CEOs was change. You still remember that period? Change, that was the word. 2 years later there was innovation. 2 years later there was growth. 2 years ago there was complexity. And now the word is technology. So the goodness is that CEOs and more people around in this world finally do understand that technology is not only the enabler anymore, it's really going to be a differentiator. And that's our field. So feel proud that you're working in a field, and that finally the world understands that we are more important than ever before in what we do, in what we create, in what we advise. That is the name of the game. So CEOs are doing that. And of course the CEOs are reacting to that one. So the CEOs say, wow, we need to do some more things as well. These are the keywords, and you know them all. I don't need to explain it to you. Specifically, the word security is popping up more and more, and 58% is still low. If you only think about this word security, safe environment. Sometimes I make the comparison with the year 2000, some of you do. For the year 2000, we all were mobilized. We had our programs offices, everybody knew about it. We were drilling to this famous moment. I do believe that around security and cybersecurity as a whole, we need to really ramp up the sense of urgency there. Because this is a phenomenon. It's not a phenomenon, it's something that is happening that has potential dangers for the world, for the internet. So we really need to get our minds together to tackle that much more. And we, as an open source community, can contribute that as well. So ladies and gentlemen, to close this picture, the world is where it is. Now it's getting interesting. Secondly, we see more examples that open source / open standards, open computing is taken more seriously, including in Brussels. We see that CEOs are reacting. They understand technology is more important. We see CIOs reacting. They set their agenda accordingly. They focus on security in my view. And finally, the summary is more or less that we say these challenges are really about the interoperability, you know that, Secondly, about dealing with that complexity and ensuring that we keep up with the pace of change, because this is going much faster, and there are still clients in this world, countries in this world, who think it will go like that. I mean, it's going much more rapid than we think. And why? Because if we go in this world from 6 to 9 billion people, wow, then you have a level of complexity. Energy, water, food, all these things we need to deal with it. So we need to mobilize all the talent in the world to get this done. Okay, second message. Why does IBM support for many years already open source? So sometimes people think IBM is not an open source. Wrong. Start tweeting that. Wrong. IBM is serious about open source. IBM 11 years ago made that change. We said, listen, this world is getting a complex world, so open innovation is important. And companies like IBM, when they go serious, they go serious. So we set $1 billion aside to start this open source direction. And we do that because we believe it is supporting innovation significantly. It is really a driver for open standards. And finally, in the end, and it is always a driving factor, our clients, our governments, our society is needing that. So I give you a remark on all of those three. First, open source. And it's a reality. So IBM, our IBM Research Lab in Zurich, they opened up their Eclipse code. And the Eclipse, you're aware of that one, we provided that code to the open community. And then exactly is going to happen what we want them to do collectively. We gave something away. Secondly, people tapped into that one and started to develop this even in better mode. We use as IBM, again, this renewed collaboration, if you will, for our rational products and also for our cross-platform local code environment. And we also know that a lot of ISVs and service providers and vendors use this new developed environment for their benefit. This is how it can work. You provide something, you make it collectively better, and people can benefit of that one. I mean, it's a reality. It's not fiction I'm talking about. You're aware of this project, and that is what we like to see. Companies who are not only talking about it, but also doing it. Second message about open standards. I can be brief on that one because Neely talked about it as well. More and more in all the governments, also the Dutch governments, there are statements that open standards are important. And then sometimes you say, wow, is such a line so important? Well, it is important. In the Dutch governmental treaty, we have a new cabinet here, and for the first time ever, they added 2 alineas on ICT. And the ICT community in Holland is happy that we're in that description, if you will. So therefore, again, that around, open standards, this is mentioned in the governmental states of the European Union is important. Neely is driving the digital agenda. Mrs. Gagan-Quinn is driving Horizon 2020, research and development. And these women are right, and they are sincere. Because they write in these programs what we are really doing. And therefore open source and open source. When we talk about it, it is much more sincere, much more serious, much more convinced as before. And that's our community. And the final word, another example, you can see that outside in the IBM booth, is, for our clients. I mean, Eurocontrol. I mean, you all have been flying, coming down here likely, and you'll fly out tonight. You see that Eurocontrol is the European oversight of traffic management. You understand already the complexity there. More data, more safety, more security, more cost. It all needs to be done in a perfect solution. Eurocontrol, after selecting several initiatives, selected IBM Z Enterprise Linux as the solution for the reasons you can understand. With the flexibility, with the cost, but mainly because they know this box. And it is a box, a data center in a box outside. It can help fixing their solution now, but even more in time. So why is IBM serious in open source? Because I think it's driving innovation. Example, Eclipse. because it's needed to create new open standards. Example, a lot of countries are doing it, including the European environment. And thirdly, because our clients need it. Example, Eurocontrol, great example how we're doing that today. These are some facts again. You know, IBM is involved in over 150 open source projects, including the Eclipse I mentioned. You know, we have a lot of people who are really now focused on open source, and Linux is really, you know, across the board in IBM, in our products, in our services, and we believe in that. It's a citizen. Okay, then to close. The best is yet to come. The best is yet to come. I'm not Obama, but the best is yet to come. Best is yet to come. Because the world we are in is great. IBM started, you know, 101 years ago in the tabulating area. And we were great at we had tabulating machines. And for many, many years, our company is seen as the computer maker. That's something we don't do anymore today. I mean, we are a smarter planet. So the evolution is great. Companies like IBM invented the smart card, you know, the PC, etc. But the point here is that we're really entering a new era of computing. I mean, you see a few elements. First, this huge explosion of data. Real time, fast, must be available. You cannot store it anymore, so you need to decide. Analytics is the name of the game. Hugely different as before. Second element, new era of computing. Consumers getting much more demanding, much more knowledgeable. Our youngsters, I was at the Science Park here in Amsterdam, you know, 2 weeks ago. If you look to the number of startup companies are there, focus on open source, that's the reality, that's the new world, that's the open world of computing we are going into much more. And finally, if you talk about consumers, if you talk about application, if you talk about data, I mean, there's this infrastructure environment. Watson is a computer that we created that is not simply doing what we tell them to do, but these computers are starting thinking in a cognitive way. They started analyzing, they start helping. It's not to look scary that computers take over. On the other hand, in the world we're entering, we need that capacity. So the new era of computing needs open computing in all dimensions. Open source, open standard, everything should be open. That's the picture. So we need to convince people outside this room, much more government, policy makers, that the new era of computing is there. It's giving some challenges, but it's needed, and it's giving much more benefits. And that's why I think conventions like today are so important to realize that once more, and to really step out today with new insights, new ideas, new network, but most of all, that this is going to be the community that will carry out this message because it's needed in the world. Open virtualization, big data, open cloud, all of these are familiar to you. You see the challenge on this chart, that is what we need to work on. My final chart, ladies and gentlemen, is you are all knowledgeable people, and some of you, most of you, are in this open source already for a long time. And you were there in a pioneering phase. I like the slogan, storming, norming, transforming. I didn't invent it, somebody invented it. But storming has something to do with, well, try and error, try something out. You are alone, nobody believes you, etc. Norming is that people start taking you more seriously. Say, well, that can be a difference. Transforming is the real thing we're interested in. And that is what this world needs today, and that's where we can contribute a lot. So final advice on what I think is important when I do my trips in Europe is that I say, listen, drive an open collaboration. Don't take it for granted that everybody understands today what the new collaboration means. Collaboration doesn't mean come to a meeting, say your things, and go our way. I mean, in my view, collaboration is try to make a difference. Do something different as before, otherwise the outcome will be the same. You know, speak up. Dare to take leadership in that sense. Open collaboration. The second thing is, I advise you sometimes in discussion, find out what the blocking factors are. It's my experience in discussing open source. It's always, oh, no, you cannot do that. It's regulation, it's privacy, you know, it's IP, My advice to you is try to find out what the real blocking factors is. Because my experience is that some are really blocking, but some is not blocking anymore. There's a solution for that. Drive that clarity, that would be my advice. Help a talented world. As I said, these people in the science are average young people, you know, below 25, and they want to be helped. They want to see that what they do is fitting in a wider context. And we, as some more senior, some years in a row people, we can help these people. We say, you are important, we need you as well. Skills, very important. We are going into a world of talent. Skills is going to be the differentiator. In the area of open computing, right statement, we need much more skills and talent. And they are not necessarily here in Holland. They are there also in India. They are there in Morocco. They are in Turkey. Countries with a huge young population. So I think if we embrace that extremely well, it can work. And finally, it is this phenomena of creating awareness. So I've given you the success story of Eclipse. I've given you the success story of Europe Control, and you can see it outside. But around open source and around open standards, my experience in countries and in Europe is that sometimes people don't still know how it fits in the wider picture. And I do believe if you start by saying, this is the world today, this is where we're entering, this is the complexity, therefore we need all the talent and all the innovation together, and therefore open source is a strong driver, can be a strong driver for open standards, for this open area of computing. And that is, ladies and gentlemen, why I think these conventions are so important. Again, you have much more insights than I have on open source. But I always like to say, listen, it's an opportunity for all of us. It's a beautiful world. It has challenges. On the other hand, it is our game. Technology, ICT, open environment is the name of the game, and that's what we are. So, I wish you a very good conference. I wish you new ideas. I wish you new friends, new insight. But most of all, I wish you when you go outside that you pick up one or two things that you can go do in your environment. Drive this open source community. And with that, I wish you a good session, and thank you very much for listening to me. Have a good day. Thank you.